what I have realized is that everything in this planet has been designed to keep the consciousness of humanity down and low. Everything. Everything from the education system, which makes you stupid, the health system, which makes you sick, the judicial system, which incarcerates you, the governmental system, which makes you poor, the economic system, which makes you a debt slave. So all of these systems were created by an elite group. And this elite group can trace their history back to Mesopotamia. And when you go back to Mesopotamia, you find that
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. There's little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. I am not asking your newspapers to support, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. To the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Hey guys, you're listening to the SpeakInCOAD Podcast. I am Code himself. We got a guest on tonight for you, and I think it's going to be a good one. We're willing to learn, we're ready to learn, and we're ready to roll. So without further ado, coming to the stage, I got your one and only favorite, Teddy Bear Dynamite.
Good evening, ladies and germs. Good evening.
All right, and then without further ado, here's our guest. He is Todd Cave.
hello, good evening to all, and I'm happy to be here and to have an interesting conversation with you guys.
Happy to have you.
Definitely, man. Yeah, we're super pumped. I've been like trying to get a hold of people and like slowly learning about this whole podcasting thing. We've been doing it for a while now, but this is our first time like with decent quality video with guests. So we're like, let's do it. So,
Yeah, man. Always a first for everything.
yeah, definitely. So we'll get into our first segment. It's called What's in Your Cup, where you just get a cup. It could be water, it could be coffee, it could be pens and pencils. It don't matter. As long as you got a cup and tell us what's in it. And it's just our icebreaker and go with the flow, you know?
Sure. Well, green tea is in my cup. And yeah, so basically the reason for green tea is, well, for many reasons. One, I drink tea because it's good to quench your thirst. And two, green tea is very good for removing the toxins from the body and keeping you nice and trim because I am a fitness trainer. So on the day job, I do fitness. And it helps me to, stay a little bit lean because I can control my hunger and I can therefore reduce a lot of my snacking. And I probably drink about 3 to 4 cups of green tea a day. Like I don't, I drink a lot of water and green tea. And like I find that even though it is hot, tea is very good to drink because it works the opposite. It heats you up, but it cools you down because you sweat, and then your body gets cooler and you feel a lot more comfortable. So that's what's in my cup, green tea.
Nice, man. TBD?
I don't have a cup. I have a
Oh,
shaker bottle. Actually,
cup.
the one you got me, and I'm sipping on some grape Skittle.
Nice. Pre-workout?
I wish it's just
Oh,
one of those like Kool-Aid single packets.
nice. And I'm actually drinking. You ever heard of Everyday Dose?
No.
This one's matcha
No,
tea.
what's that?
It's tea, but it's made with mushrooms. So it's got like collagen
Mm.
protein in it, nootropics, and what is the mushroom? I think it's got L-theanine, chaga, and lion's mane. So they
Sounds
make a
good.
coffee too. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, and it's tea. So that's the first time I'm like, oh, I've never done this one. And then you have tea today, so I'm like, oh, that's cool. But yeah. So yeah, man, I've been super pumped to talk to you and stuff. I listened to your intro. I heard of you from Paranoid American, and like he just like put me on to a bunch of new people. He's like, yeah, hit up Todd Cave, hit up this person, hit up this person. So I was like, oh shoot. So I just started reaching out to people, and you were one of the first people to like respond and schedule something. So I've been like super pumped to like actually have conversations with other people that we've never heard from before, or like ever checked out before. So it's like definitely
Yeah.
opening our eyes more to what's out there, you know.
New perspective.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what it's all about, you know.
definitely. So like what I know your expertise is like fitness and stuff. How long you been doing fitness for?
I've been pretty much being an athlete all of my life.
Okay.
From the time I was a child, but I would say that I only really started to do fitness seriously 12 years ago. So a little bit about me, I used to be a civil engineer, and in the early parts of my career, I basically used to work a lot. So I used to work 6 days a week. I used to work 11 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day. Then in the middle part of my career, I was working 12 and a half hours a day. So there was literally no time that I could do fitness. So, you know, you hear a lot of people say, oh, I have no time to exercise.
Yes.
Well, a lot of times that's bullshit. There was only 12 and a half hours in a day. They only has 24 hours, and I was doing 12 and a half at work. And then you're supposed to sleep for 8, which used to be me 6. And then I used to still have to go home and prepare food and do all sorts of stuff. And then having to travel in and out to work, because like I used to travel 3 hours a day. So that's 1.5 in the morning, 1.5 in the evening. So I had no life, right? Yeah. So when people say to me, "Oh, I have no time," I just say, "That sounds a lot of crap to me because it's just an excuse, right?"
Yeah.
Because I know what it means to not have time. Then what happened is that I was fortunate enough that I could change jobs, and then I started to get into fitness, and you know, like everybody else, you do it for fun and what's not. And about 7 years ago, I had some issues on my foot because I had an accident on my foot many years ago that I had complications on my ankle, and I had to get life changing surgery on my foot because my foot was in a very bad state. So that basically started a series of dominoes of my life to fall, and one thing led to the next, and then I just ended up doing fitness because there was really I was going through a lot of I was going through what I call my refinement period. Some people call it the dark night of the soul, but I call it the refinement period because like how you have when you mine gold, you get the ore. You know, when you mine gold, you get something called doré bars, and then you take those doré bars and then you heat them, you refine them. At a certain temperature, you get 14 karat. Another temperature, you get 18. And another one, you get 22. And then at another temperature, you get 24. So that's the reason why I call it my refinement period, because it significantly got more and more difficult with more and more time passing, you know? So I that's why I call it my refinement period. And yeah, I basically started to like as I was recovering from my surgery, I started to do exercise as a way to help fight I was on the verge of depression, and then I started to read books as well. So what happened to me is that I was working on my body and my mind at the same time because I was reading all these high level books, like spiritual books, people will call conspirator books. So I went through the whole Brave New World, Animal Farm, 1984, series of books like, Conspiracy to Rich by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read like tons of books. So I was reading all those books at the same time I was trying to get back into physical shape. And basically, like, because of what was going on in my life, one of the options to do something different, because I knew I had to do something different, was fitness.
Yeah.
And then that led to me doing podcasting.
Can I pull up your video on with your foot? Can I show TBD?
Yeah, sure.
I noticed this earlier. So like this was his foot, TBD, when he was talking about he had the complications with his ankle and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
man.
like in pretty bad shape.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
So that frame on my foot is what I call an Elizaroth frame.
Okay.
And what that frame does is that I had no more cartilage in my ankle. So what happened is that they drilled that frame in your foot to separate the two bones, right? So to keep them separated and allow the cartilage to grow back in between the bones. So my ankle was like this. There was no space. So they pulled the ankle bones apart, the tibia and the fibia, cleaned out the material inside, right? And then the frame was to keep the bones separated like that and fixed. So yes, those studs were drilled into my foot.
Jeez.
Man.
Yeah.
Man.
So when I obviously, because I'm a man, I could never have children physically. I think I have an idea of what childbirth pain is like, because that is on pain of a level that most people I don't think would be able to handle. Like it was an 8 to 9 in terms of pain level every single day for 3 months.
Jeez.
3 months.
Yeah. So that's why I said I was going through a really tough time mentally, and I got really overweight. I was on the verge of depression, and it was a really, really hard time for me. And one of my good mates, he gave me a couple of books to read, and I basically started to read books as a way of to escape, like escapism. Like people turn to drugs, drink, prostitution, gambling. I just started to read books, and I started to read books like if my life depended on it, because I was just in such a bad way. And what happened is that at that time on YouTube, you could still find good audiobooks, and you could still find some decent information in 2017.
Okay.
And I ended up learning a lot, and then that's one of the reasons why I'm able to speak on a podcast now, because I have gone so far down the rabbit hole that, man, there's no way back for me in terms of coming back to normality. Quotation marks, normality.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then
what type of books did?
Oh, sorry. Oh no. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was gonna ask.
Well,
all right.
What type of books did you start with?
Okay, so the first 2 books that I read that my friend gave me, shout out to you, Peter, was The 5 Love Languages and The Road Less Traveled.
Okay.
And those books very much are personal development books as well. So especially in the book, The Road Less Traveled, what became present to me is that, I have to take accountability for the things that happened to me in the past, things that I did to myself, or things that were done to me. They were as a consequence of my actions or inaction, And then what happened is that this was around the time that, because Donald Trump had just become president. So what happened is that there was a lot of, the left was out doing their thing, and the right was doing their thing. And at that time, I won't say I was into politics like that, but I used to like Donald Trump at the time, because, he represented a part of the population that I think have been very much disenfranchised by the state. But then what happened to me is that as I started to learn more and more things, I started to realize and learn that Donald Trump is part of the establishment. He is part of the entire system. However,
Okay.
Donald Trump is a manifestation of a big group of blue collar people that have been disenfranchised by the the small elite group that run the world. And they don't just want to say America run the world, because they do these things to every single country on earth. And
Mhm.
what started to happen is that I started to come upon information that started to show that actually it is a global systematic problem and a global criminal cartel crime syndicate that own this planet lock, stock, and barrel, right? Because all the countries are actually corporations, right? And these corporations they follow something called Admiralty law, which is law of the sea. And then when you go deeper into that, you realize that all of these families that are in the black nobility and the three levels of the 13 families, they're all connected. All the governments, the alphabet agencies, they're all owned by these people. And then I started to realize that even the religions are owned by them, right? So
Mhm.
then when you go deeper in down the rabbit hole, you come to realize that all roads lead to Samaria, Mesopotamia, right? So this is where our story really begins,
This is where
right?
you're gonna get TBD. This is where you're gonna pique his interest.
So some of the other books that I have read along the way are the Lost Book of Enki, the Atrahasis, the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Myth of Adapa. The other books I've read are the Book of Enoch, the Nag Hammadi codices, Pista Sophia. So I've read a lot of books. Then the another book that tells you how it's all made is the Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski. So
Okay.
basically, what I have realized is that everything in this planet has been designed to keep the consciousness of humanity down and low. Everything. Everything from the education system, which makes you stupid, the health system, which makes you sick, the judicial system, which incarcerates you, the governmental system, which makes you poor, the economic system, which makes you a debt slave.
Mhm.
So all of these systems were created by an elite group. And this elite group can trace their history back to Mesopotamia. And when you go back to Mesopotamia, you find that there are records that are called the Sumerian tablets, that are about 5,500 years old and are about from between 3,200 to 3,400 BC. And these tablets document a time that goes back up to 450,000 years ago. Now, these tablets talk about a group of deities called the Anunnaki. Now, the word the Anunnaki literally means those from heaven to earth came. So, what we have is we have a group of beings that have written down in clay tablets that they came from another planet called Nibiru, and they came to this planet Earth in order to mine Earth for its resources, mostly
Mhm.
gold, but other minerals and stuff. So when they came here, they brought some of their people, and these people were called the Agigi, or sometimes they're called the Ajiji. And the Ajiji, they came here and they were doing all of the hard work. So we really like to describe this group of people where the Anunnaki would be equivalent to the heads of state, the monarchies, the central bankers, the aristocrats, the movers and shakers in our society. And then the Agigi or Agigi would be the people like us, the plumbers, the electricians, the people that clean your pool, the bus drivers. These are the blue collar workers, right? So they came here to help mine the gold because their planet was the atmosphere was disintegrating. So they wanted to get gold so that they could refine it to shoot gold particles in the atmosphere to help repel some of the sun and to stabilize the atmosphere. But along the way, what happened is that the Ajiji rebelled, and they said that the work is too hard because they were literally making the dikes, making the canals, creating the rivers, creating the lakes. Those were the people that, and they say people because all evidence points that they were basically what you would call advanced humans. They were probably many millions, not millions, but many years more advanced than us. We don't know how many years more, but what I would say is that they would be at least minimum 450,000 years more advanced than us, because that's when the records go back by. So obviously they would have been older when they came, but that's minimum older how much they are than us. So we're talking about a highly advanced, sophisticated, technologically set of beings. So when they came here, the Igigi rebelled, and basically they were going to go to war with the Anunnaki. And in the Anunnaki pantheon, because it is basically a pantheon of gods, as they call themselves, that run the whole show, and they go in terms of rank. So they have like a base 10 rank, so from rank 10 to 70. And 70 was Anu. He's like the leader. And then you have two other characters called Enki and Enlil. Now, these two characters are very, very interesting and important because those characters are the two of the biggest characters that have shaped humanity forever. So Enki, he and his brother had a rivalry because in Anunnaki tradition, the first born of the wife, his son would be the crown prince, right? He would be the heir. But Enki was the firstborn of a consort, and Enlil was the firstborn of his wife, Anu's wife, because Anu married his half sister, right? So I will touch back on that later when we touch on the royal families because you'll see the connection there. And basically, what happened is that because the Agigi were going to stop working, Enki, who was a master geneticist and scientist, had a bright idea, and that was to create a slave being, a slave race, or a worker beings, a worker class, to do the hard work for them, to ease the work, the labor of the Ajiji. So what he did is that he mixed his DNA, no, well, not his, but he mixed the DNA of one of the Anunnaki beings with that of an existing female hominid that was here on Earth. So that hominid would have been the equivalent of our cousins, right? Now, some people say that that would be the equivalent of Homo erectus, but I would say that that was more Homo sapiens sapien because it was a version of us. Because the way the tablets describe it is that it was a sentient being, but just not advanced, right?
Okay.
So oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
So when you say that he made a half being of himself, like his being or his breed, I guess, or his genes, he mixed it with the Ajiji genes as if it was like the human genes.
No, let me clarify.
Okay.
So the tablets specifically say that they took the essence, which means DNA, of one of the Anunnaki beings. We don't know which one, but one of them. Now, in the Enuma Elish, it talks about taking the blood of a Ijiji called Elawelu, right? So like I said, you have to cross-reference tablets in order to be able to get this information. And what they did is that they sacrificed, in this one, the Enuma Elish, it talks about they sacrificed one of their Gigi and did a blood sacrifice and an incantation in order to give life to the Frankenstein that they created, because the Frankenstein could not come to life until this blood ritual incantation was done. Now, in other tablets, it talks about specifically doing taking the egg of the female Homo sapiens sapien that was here before, and they took the essence or the male DNA and they tweaked the female DNA to basically be impregnated by the male Anunnaki DNA. And they took that egg, which is basically a zygote, and they put it into one of their Anunnaki females. And that was, Ninmah or Ishtar or Inanna, because she goes by different names depending on the region that they're from. So they did in vitro 450,000 years ago, right? So there's nothing new under the sun. So all the technology that we think that we are coming up with or we're doing, it's just technology that has existed a long time ago. And the tablets specifically say that she took the child to 10 Earth months. And there's a tablet with her with a baby in her hand holding up and say, "My hands have made it," right? So that was what we call the Adama or the Adapa, the Adamu, Adam, which means first man.
Yep. Okay.
So Adam was a group of people. So what it is now is that in order to understand the Bible, you have to read older text. And what we do have is that these clay tablets, these Sumerian cuneiform, that's the language is written in cuneiform, are the oldest, is the oldest writing system that we have on Earth. So there is the oldest information we have on Earth. There is nothing that is older than cuneiform on Earth. So everything that comes after cuneiform is just a derivative, an adaptation, or a downright carbon copy of the information on these tablets, right? So when you look at the stories in the Bible, the Genesis story is a bit of an amalgamation of the Atrahasis, the Enuma Elish, and then the other tablets that create what we call the 7 tablets of creation, which come from the Chaldeans as well, the Assyrians, So we're talking about all of these people are actually mentioned in the Bible. That's the funny thing that people don't even realize. The Chaldeans, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, they're all mentioned in the absolute Bible. So people are thinking that they have a book called the Bible that is the absolute truth of God, word for word, when the Bible is a combination of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is basically the book of going by night and day. That's really what's translated as. You have the Mahabharata, you have the Upanishads, you have the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. You have so many different books that are in there that basically the Bible was pulled. You have the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So the Bible is an amalgamation of all of those, plus the 7 tablets of creation, the Enuma Elish, the Atrahasis, Epic of Gilgamesh. Even again, Gilgamesh is another character that's in the Bible, right?
What was the Atrahasis?
Atrahasis, yeah.
Okay, all right. I think I've heard of. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. His name's like Matthew something.
Matthew LaCroix.
Yes, yeah. I feel like he always talks about that, right?
Yeah, I follow Matthew LaCroix.
Okay.
A lot. Yeah.
All right, nice.
The funny thing is, right, is that obviously he's a juggernaut in the game. Yes. And the things that I knew before finding him, right? He's brought some clarity to some of the things that I couldn't understand, right? But I love that guy. I love Matthew LaCroix,
Yep.
And
sorry? I was gonna also ask you. Okay, so when you were talking about the 2 creations that mated, or not mated, but they inseminated the woman, and then she ended up having Adam. I was thinking that that's what created the Nephilim. But would one of those things ahead of before Adam have been the Nephilim, or a style of that at all?
Well, the Nephilim comes about from the story of, which is in the book of Enoch, which talks about the sons of God and lying with the daughters of man. So what it is that it would appear that this was after the Adama was created, because Adama just means first man. So what it was is that when you look, when these tablets show you that after Isis or Inanna Ishtar, she created the first Adamu. What they did is that they tried to clone the Adamu, but cloning was taking too long. So what they had to find a way in order to create, because they don't forget they're trying to create beings to work, right? So if cloning is taking so long, right, and it's so labor intensive, what they did is that they allowed us to be able to procreate. Because at first, when they first created us, we were like, because like how you have like a mule is a crossbreed between a horse and a donkey.
Yes.
We were mules. We could not breed. So what they did is that they turned on some things in our DNA, and then they created more beings. So this time there's a story in these tablets that you have 14 birth mothers. This is why some of them are called mama, but they're called the mother of civilization and stuff. Some of the way they translation the terms come from some of these women.
Okay.
And what they did is that they had 7 male and 7 female. So 14 birth mothers, 7 male, 7 female, and they artificially inseminated all of those women. The offspring from those were put to mate, right? And they were put in a place called the Eden, the Edin. And the Eden had a character called Satan. He was called Lord Satan, right? He was actually Enlil, one of the brothers that I was talking about, the son of Anu.
Yeah.
And the word and that Eden, because they like to tell us that it was like a paradise, but the actual word that was used in Greek, because some of this information is in Greek as well, like the biblical story, is called Pariosio. And Pariosio actually means garden, caged garden, right? So the Garden of Eden, all of that comes from transliteration and translation, which the Eden, which being a Pariosio, was a caged garden, and in that garden, it was like an open laboratory. So what they were doing is that they were putting humans to mate at specific times so that they could get offspring, right? And so basically, the same way how in the last slave era, which was 500 years ago, where the conquistadors, they would put slaves to have sex at specific times because they wanted to increase the workforce. Well, they didn't come up with that idea. That came from Mesopotamia. This is 400,000 years old, right? That this stuff has been going on. So what it is now is that after they created this being, they started to multiply, which was great for them. But it got to a point where they started to multiply too much, right? And this is where the issues came, because Enlil, he started to get fed up of us because he always said that we complain too much, we shout too much, we scream too much. You could hear when we're having sex, because it seemed like if Enki had done something in the genetic manipulation that made it really sensitive to Enlil, where he could hear all these things. So what it was now is that there was a flood. Because if you read the Genesis story, there's more than one flood in the Bible when you read it carefully. And one of the floods was one of the floods that is documented on the Sumerian kings list. So there are 8 immortal kings, and we have kings ruling for a combination of 241,200 years. And basically you have some leaders like Alulim, who ruled for 28,800 years. You have Abara Tutu, 18,600. You have Emenluana, which ruled for 43,200 years, right? So this is when man was at his height in terms of he was just like them because he had a lot of their DNA, and then certain things in the DNA were turned on to give us long life. And then it says in the Sumerian tablets, and then there was the flood, and the flood happened 241,200 years, and then that was when they decided to reseed Earth, right? So this is where after that flood you would have the Nephilim when they repurposed Earth, rebuilt Earth, and then this is where the story of the daughters of men, the daughters of God lay with daughters of men, because these Ajiji, they came with no women, and they were tired of being alone, and they were on a way station in Mars, and they were like, hey, y'all guys living it up, we want some too, we ain't got no women. So they came down in their spaceships, because they came in spaceships, and that's what it says the fallen angels. The fallen angels just represents them coming to Earth in a spaceship, seeing women and saying, hey, y'all are cute, we love you, we like you, come be with us. And they who knows if it was by force or by choice, we don't know, but they lay with them. And that's how they got the Nephilim, because the word Nephilim comes from the Greek word, the Hebrew word called Nephal, which means big. So the big ones. And Ayem is plural in Hebrew, so it just means the tall ones, right? The big ones. So that's what we call the Nephilim. So it's not that the Nephilim are bad. It's just just plural for big people,
Yeah. And I mean, shoot, if you came here and you just saw big booty Latinas, why wouldn't you?
Bruh, you know what I'm saying? Right?
Oh, that was good.
To be fair, that's a fair statement, right? Because think about it, right? If we look like them, we have their same characteristics, it means we have the exact same eggs and itches as men. So if they got thirsty and they didn't have girls for so many hundreds of thousands of years, and they came down here and said, hey, y'all got all the women here, y'all got all the booty, we want some too. You know what I mean? As men that thirsty and want to have family and stuff, they would do the same thing, right? So that's a completely fair statement. So after that, then now what happened is that you started to get all the clickiness forming, because the two factions, their children started to go to war with each other, right?
Okay.
So this is why, if you look at politics, it's generally two sides in politics. There's always generally right versus left. And this goes back to the Anunnaki, where you have the Enlil and the Enki faction. So one faction is always against the other for domination. And the thing is that it is almost like the Lord of the Rings story, where you have a ring to rule them all. They're always searching for the ring of power. But basically, that's what they're doing. They're searching for the ring of power. And the ring of power is to rule this planet, lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, they already do, but they want us to be in total subservience to them. So even conversations like this wouldn't be allowed to happen, because they want to have complete vigilance on the internet, where to be on the internet, you would have to have your ID linked to your social credit score, which is linked to your CBDC, which is linked to your digital ID, which is linked to your vaccine status, which is linked to your health records, which is linked to your location, who you're talking to. That's the kind of level that they want, right? So everything is linked. Everything is linked.
Man, you mentioned something at the beginning, and I'm trying to remember what it was. So you mentioned the black nobility. I wanted to ask you about that. And then you mentioned something about the health part at the beginning.
Oh, I said that the Department of Health, or is just basically the health system is to make you sick.
Yes.
Yes.
There is something else. I'll find it when I'm editing. I'm like, oh crap.
But, but, but think about it, right? The
Yeah.
Department of Defense should really be called the Department of Offense, because let's be real here. What countries actually do any defending these days? Are they all doing offense, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And we're
Then
always starting it somehow.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then think about it. The Department of Health. Do you see any people getting healthier on the health system?
Or the people that run it. You're like,
No.
that's a dude.
Think
You're
about
like,
it, right? Everything is linked, because the food that we eat today in the world is the worst quality food that we've ever seen in our known history. Because think about it, right? We don't get what you call local produce anymore. So what used to happen in the day is that you would have a village or a neighborhood where you would get your local beef, your chicken, your eggs, your duck, your poultry, everything. How many places in the world today do actually have local farms producing for the local population? Very few.
Very few.
yeah.
Now, I can take this to another level. The average age of farmers in the world is, I think, from memory, 63 or 65 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's not like a young man's job at all.
80% of all farmers are in China. So we have a situation in the world where we have supposedly a lot more sense, because we have technology where things like what we're having now, these conversations, was only a dream 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But we have not developed in an advanced way that we can have local quality food. We have just this just-in-time system, right? Of working where you go to the supermarket and it's just there, right? But those products and food most likely traveled very long distances to get there, right? So
Yes.
so all of the food is basically contaminated, right? Now, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, what you eat, but when I say it doesn't matter, what I mean is that most food is actually very bad food, because let's go to the health angle for a bit here. So we have drinks that are marketed as quotation marks health drinks. They don't come out outright say they're health drinks, but look at a drink like Milo, right? Or Ovaltine, right? You know
Okay.
Ovaltine? Milo,
Yeah.
good. Is marketed as a health drink, right? You see health related propaganda in it, right? Now, if you look at Milo or Ovaltine or even any of those type drinks, 45% of the content is sugar. 45%. And sugar is literally worse than cocaine because it is more addictive. If you ever see children you stop from giving them sugar, they freak out. Even us adults, we get sugar cravings, right? We get sugar rush.
Yes.
Good. No, I would say that is more addictive than cocaine, because the average person that uses cocaine is for recreational use. The average. It's only the people that got money that can use it like that, right?
Yeah. And it's the opposite for sugar.
It's the opposite for sugar.
Wow.
Think about it. Sugar is cheap. It's in everything.
Yeah.
So you consume sugar every single day, right? The average person that does cocaine would be like on a weekend thing, a little social thing, you know what I mean, a little here and there. They go and spend 200 pounds in it, that's done. But they don't need to do that with sugar, because they know that they can sell you a pack of sugar. You can come back every week. without fail. And sugar is very bad for the body, right? Look at all the food, right? That you if you read the labels, you would see, for example, chocolates. Dude, I love chocolate. Chocolate is one of my favorite things. But I have to be very selective on which chocolate I get because first thing first, I was looking at a chocolate last week, and it was 100 grams in weight, and they said per 100 grams serving or per serving, it was 48.5% sugar. So
Wow.
basically, I am eating 48 grams of sugar. Dude, I could literally take a teaspoon and just pour 48 grams on the scale and just consume that. That would be the actual equivalent of it. You would get a mad sugar rush from it, and then in a bit you'd be hungry again, and you'd be looking for something else to eat, right? No,
Yeah,
you
just to
can
get a
do
concept of how much like a gram is. Isn't that like a sugar packet that you put in
yes,
coffee? So imagine
yeah,
like, you have 45 grams of sugar in that chocolate bar. Get 45 packets of like sweetened loaf, but the sugar ones. That's how much
it's
packets you would
crazy.
have to get for that.
It's
That is
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane, dude. Look at even the Tropicana. You know, the supposed pure orange juice. That's BS, man. Because first thing first, pure orange juice would never be able to stay on the shelf for that long. Pure orange juice would go off in days,
Now,
right?
Todd, I mean, with the idea of with the fitness and stuff, do you do nutrition and everything too?
Yes.
So, like, what would be, and this is just for like anybody listening and stuff. What would be the difference between eating your fruit and drinking like a smoothie?
Well, the thing is with fruit, you actually know exactly how much you're drinking, right? I mean, you're eating, sorry,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And with a smoothie, smoothies are not bad. Smoothies are good. But what I would say is that you still have to look at what else you're putting in there, right? Because all fruits, let me get my words correct. All fruits are good for the body, but all fruits are not good for if you're trying to lose weight
Okay.
Okay.
because there's some nuance with it. So, for example, bananas, grapefruit, loads of potassium, vitamin K, all that kind of stuff. But if you're trying to lose weight, consuming a lot of bananas is counterproductive because it has a high level of sugar. It is natural sugar, it is good sugar, so it won't make you sick like artificial sugar. But what I would do if I had a client, I would put them to eat more things like berries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries. The reason why is that they are low in sugar. The glycemic index for those fruits or the GI index is lower. So what happens that when you consume fruits or anything with sugar, your body produces more sugar to break down that sugar, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Good. So what happens now is that depending on if it is artificial or normal proper fructose, if it's artificial, it spikes your insulin like up in the air like that. Now, if it is normal fructose sugar, it would go up in a slower way. It would still go up, right? So I still look at the trajectory when I'm designing meal plans.
Okay.
But in terms of health, it doesn't matter. The fruit is better for you health wise. But if you want to lose weight, and then on the flip side, if you want to build muscle, you want to gain weight, bananas are fantastic to eat. Mangoes, peaches, because they have higher levels of calories and sugar. You understand? But that sugar, because it is natural sugar, doesn't have detrimental effects on the body. You understand?
Yep.
So it's a matter then of knowing what fruits for what situation.
Okay.
Now, you can still lose weight by eating bananas, but there's a catch. There's something called the total daily energy expenditure, which is the total amount of calories you need per day in order to live.
Yes.
Right. So if you have two bananas, basically that is a massive set of your calories gone in one go, right? So
Okay.
then, no, it means that if you want to lose weight, you have to make compromises on the other things you would eat. You understand? Because in order to lose weight, say your total daily expenditures here, you just need to be just under, right? So what that means is that you're consuming less than what your body is requiring of you.
Okay.
Just like when you put on weight, you're consuming slightly more, right? So
Yep.
this is why it is just gradually, or gradually coming down, right? It depends on which of the scale you're going. Now, what it is now is that when you calculate these values, right, is what I do, then I'm able to put my clients in a caloric deficit or a caloric surplus, right, depending on what you want to do.
Yes.
So if you want to, for example, I have worked with people before that we call them hard gainers. They just can't gain weight at all. They eat and it frustrates them, right? Just like a guy that's bigger or a girl that's bigger, be like, man, whatever I eat, I just keep gaining weight. And they're like so frustrated. The other guy, he's like, man, dude, I'm tired of this eating thing, man. I don't want to eat. Seriously, right? I've seen it both sides.
Yeah.
So what I would do is that I would say, okay, for the person that is a hard gainer, nuts, bananas, and high levels of fat, because high levels of fat have more calories, right?
Okay.
So then, a person like him, I would say, look, most of the time they don't really like this eating thing, so you drink your calories, right? So then it's easier to get the higher levels of calories.
Okay.
On the flip side, now with a person that wants to lose, what I do is I say, look, you need to switch what you eat because it's what you eat. So have higher levels of protein, higher levels of chicken, beef, fish, etc., etc. But there's a catch with that. It is in the preparation of it. So if you can get low salt condiments, and there are things like that I like that's really good, like maple syrup. I use that as well. I get sugar-free barbecue sauce. So a really good recipe for people here, just like this is one of my things that I do. And low sugar barbecue sauce, paprika, cayenne pepper, turmeric, and with some hot sauce. Oh man, you marinate your chicken, you leave that overnight with that. Boom. Next day, man, you licking your lips. I mean, you're licking your fingers, man. Seriously.
The recipe will be in the bio.
Yeah. Seriously, super simple.
Nice.
Sugar-free barbecue sauce, paprika, turmeric, cayenne pepper, and if you want some curry powder as well.
Okay.
With some low salt soya sauce. Mix all of that together and marinate. And turmeric. Marinate the chicken with it and leave it in the fridge overnight, and the chicken get absorbed it.
Wow.
And because it is low sugar barbecue sauce, you're not going to get the spike in insulin, right? And if you want to fry it, you fry it in coconut oil, avocado oil, ghee, or what's the other one? Yeah,
tallow.
I can't remember, because basically all seed oils are bad. Sunflower oil, canola oil, raspseed oil, all the junk.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people would fry with olive oil, but frying with olive oil is also bad. Because olive oil is very good, but olive oil is for salads, and it is best to put when it's cold. So because it is cold pressed, you don't want to heat it, because when you heat it, you destroy the properties in the olive oil. So you put it on salads and you have it cold. So you're getting the good fat from the good oil, which has no detrimental effect on the body. But if you want to fry, ghee, lard, duck oil, beef fat, anything that is a pure concentration of animal fat.
Okay.
Coconut oil, avocado oil, fantastic to fry. You can fry every single day with those things, no problem. And in fact, I eat fried eggs 365 days a year, right?
Okay.
And I don't have a problem, right, in terms of maintaining my physique, right? So
Can I
it's
can I show what you your before and after?
sure, sure.
All right. Figure this way it gives some context. He knows what he's talking about. There you go.
Yeah,
There
that
you go,
was
before and after.
picture on the left. Yeah, well, that was just after my surgery.
Wow.
I'm like, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have specific workouts that you do, like that you enjoy doing and stuff too? Like or do you only lift weights, or do you do like any sort of martial arts or anything like that?
Well, funnily that you say that I do calisthenics as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So I do what you call a hybrid system of training, which is a combination of weights and calisthenics. And now I do about 70% calisthenics, 30% weights. And the reason why I do calisthenics is because calisthenics gets you very strong, and this is like proper relative strength. And what it is now is that there's this real connection of the mind and the body, because you have to really like concentrate and connect with your body in order to perform calisthenics.
Mhm.
And because of the intensity of calisthenics, you tend to be able to burn more fat because the intensity levels are very high, right?
Okay.
And they're what we call full body exercises. Now, I do weights as well, and my weights is mostly in the form of like the big movements: deadlifts, squats, lunges, bench press, overhead press, clean and press. What else I
Okay.
do? And then I do the occasional, bicep curls and tricep push downs and stuff. But those are not a lot because those are what we call smaller muscles. So they
Yeah.
don't really need that much attention, contrary to popular demand, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are for getting the big booty Latinas.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not a serious podcast at all, by the way, just to give you a heads up. Should have let you
It's
know ahead
cool,
of
man.
time.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool, man. So
Hey,
yeah, man. Yeah, go on.
I have a question back to when Andrew was asking about like eating the fruit compared to smoothieing it. I was once told that like the amount of nutrients you get varies from actually eating it to putting it in a smoothie. Is that true?
It can be. It can be. Because if you're eating it, you're eating all of the fruit, right?
And
You
the
just take
fiber.
up
Yeah.
this and the fiber. So there's some information to show that you can have some slight degradation in terms of smoothie. But I
Okay.
would say that for me, I don't think it's too much to worry about. But what you should focus on is the amount of calories you're having.
Okay.
The amount is very, very important because for a person that wants to lose weight, they should be having about 45% protein in their diet, right?
Okay.
Yep. So me personally, I eat 45%. Reason why I eat personally 45% is because I do calisthenics, and it's a very big demand on my body. So I need to have muscle repair as fast as possible. So protein is what creates the amino acid branched chain, for muscle repair.
Okay.
And higher levels of protein helps with muscle recovery. So, but I would say if you want to lose weight, an average one is still 40, even 35%. But again, it comes with compromises because you'd have to have higher levels of fat, right?
Okay.
So I prefer to have
Mhm.
high levels of protein, medium fat with low carbs, right? Not because carbs are good, carbs are not bad, but again, it depends on what you want to do. Now, now on days that you have, say, heavy workouts to do, you're doing like a leg day, or you're going really heavy on shoulders and back and all that stuff, you can have
Mhm.
higher levels of carbs to compensate for the extra energy you will need, right? But all of these are little tweaks that I teach my clients and stuff about. But for the most part, I would say is it's just matter of managing your calories, and then your macronutrients, a matter of adjusting those numbers in order for the goal you want to achieve. So, for example, a good and then what it is now is it depends on how aggressive you want to be in terms of lowering the number of calories, because a 10% caloric deficit is totally fine. So if you're supposed to be eating 2,500 calories in a day as a man, 10% means that you're at 2,250, right? Because 10% is 250, right? So you're even 2,250. Now, that's not a major thing, but if you have higher levels of protein, what that does now is that it leaves you more satiated. So you will feel full for longer. So you will have less likelihood that you're going to stack. And then when you do like me and drink loads of green tea, it helps with the suppression of hunger, you know?
Nice. I'm definitely going to start drinking this green tea more often. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, green tea is fire, man.
And it's got mushrooms in it. So I'm like, oh, no. Different kind of mushrooms. They're like more for like nootropics, get you healthy. Focus.
Well, anyone that's listening to this podcast and that's interested in mushrooms can hit me up on my socials because I can help people get some mushrooms. So that's another thing that I do as well.
Like lion's mane?
Golden Teachers with Lion's Male combo.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
We'll edit that out. Okay.
So the thing is now is that the reason why I said is that health is rigged is because all of the food on the market has very high levels of sugar, salt, and the thing is that the salt is not even real salt. I dare anyone to go to a supermarket and pick up table salt, look at the back of the ingredients, and they're going to see a lot of chemicals, right? Salt is natural. Sea salt, Himalayan salt, rock salt. Those salts are good and you have no problems with. This table salt shenanigans and thingamajiggy is bad for the body. That type of salt is what taxes your hypothalamus and puts it under stress, and the hypothalamus is responsible for hormonal controlling the body, right?
The thyroid?
No, the hypothalamus.
Oh, okay.
Right. The thyroid is something different. The hypothalamus is part of the nervous system that helps to regulate the body. So you have the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, and there's another one that I can't remember.
Okay.
And the hypothalamus is responsible for regulation of hormones, right?
Okay.
And when the hypothalamus is under stress or taxed, it causes disruptions in the hormonal balance. So this is what causes people to put on weight, because the body produces more cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which slows down your metabolism, which makes you put on weight, right? So some small tweaks in terms of, well, when I say small tweaks, for some people it'd be big, but when I say small, just look at the high level things. One, processed food. Throw processed food out of your diet completely. Don't touch it. I mean, every now and then, you go out, fine. But processed food, garbage. Things that are full of sugar, garbage. Things that are full of salt, garbage. Now, this one is, people always don't like this one when they say it, but I'll still say it. Bread. Get rid of bread. Bread does nothing to the body, right? And I'll explain why. The flour that is used to make bread is white flour. That flour is what you call bleached flour. That flour is literally bleached. So all of the nutritional value is stripped from the flour, right? So what that means is that you're eating literally just artificial sugar. Because when you strip all the nutrients from the flour, you're left with basically just sugar, right? And again, this is why a lot of people that eat bread are very bloated. Whenever I eat bread, I'm bloated the next day without fail.
Yeah. Or I get lethargic. I'll get real tired. I'm like, why am I tired?
Absolutely. Now, if you can get organic flour and have organic bread, that is a whole different ballgame. That is fine to eat. But the health system is so screwed up now that it is very difficult to find organic flour and to have organic bread unless you're going to grow the wheat yourself and process it and stuff. It's difficult. So a lot of people don't like me saying that. And look, I'm from Barbados. I grew up having a lot of bread, but I literally don't even buy bread now. I don't eat bread at all. I just when they have like eggs, I just have eggs just plain like that. If I want a little something sweet, I'll have it with some plantain. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say
But
bacon.
but no, because you're gonna you be that's all processed. That's terrible for the body. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Now, have you
terrible,
ever
right?
like made your own?
No,
No, like pork belly and just sliced it up and fried it.
no.
Oh, okay.
I've never done that. But if the thing is, right, if you have the right oil and you fry it up, absolutely, that is totally fine, right?
Okay.
Because what I try to do is I try to teach people that it is the ingredients that make the difference, right? So like
Mhm.
if you okay, for example, if you can find chips, like potato chips that are baked and not fried, and are if they have like even if they use like and they use like sea salt, excuse me, those are fantastic to have. I
Okay.
would eat those. They're
Okay.
baked and they have sea salt, right? Those are a lot healthier, right? And then if you will have fried chips, if they're fried in one of the oils that I said, I have sea salt, aluminum salt, rock salt, absolutely fine. But it is in the processing of the foods that kills the nutrition of the food. So this is why I say that the health system is there to make you sicker because there's no money in health because no one buys the pharmaceutical products, and there's no money in death because no one will be there to buy the products because everyone's dead. So they need a happy medium of sick people so that they have continual customers because they just see us as customers, right?
Yes.
So the whole system is rigged. And all of this comes as a direct response to the Anunnaki rule because they set up a system to um, basically have us as perpetual slaves through religion, in terms of the spiritual part, then in terms of
Mhm.
the pharmaceutical companies for us to be sick, to keep spending our money on them, an education system that will just keep us dumbed down and stupid so we don't become innovators, entrepreneurs, pioneers, innovators, we free thinkers, we just are
Yes.
workers and slaves, right? Because think about it, when you leave university, what real skills do you have? Like life skills. Do you know how to attend an interview? Do you know how to manage a budget? Do you know what is profit and loss? Do you know how to write a business plan? No, you don't know all these things. School doesn't teach you. Like, dude, I was watching a video yesterday and I saw they were interviewing some of these kids that are now graduating. And some of the programs that they're doing, I was like gender studies is bad, but I heard them talking about international business for human rights or some ridiculous something. I'm like, do these people actually think they're gonna get jobs, or those degrees actually add to the world? They don't. I mean, they can get $100,000 in debt, get a job that
Yeah.
is paying $30,000, and then they can realize that 30,000 today, in reality, in when you adjust for inflation, that's probably about 70,000, right? Um, then they realize that they got conned and they got tricked, right?
Yep.
So the whole system is rigged. Food. Then look, you have things like chemtrails in the skies, right? All of that is to help dumb us down. You know what I mean? Because those are with heavy metals, aluminum, strontium, barium, and those are very bad for humans. They put fluoride in the water. Fluoride
Okay.
dumbs you down because it calcifies the pineal gland, and the pineal gland is a very, very, very important gland because it is responsible for your spiritual awareness. The pineal gland is what you call the most poisoned gland in the human body. And let me see. Oh yeah, it is freaking nuts, my friend. It is freaking nuts. All right, here it is.
Oh, and you can
So,
share anything if you want to.
oh really?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even mention that.
Right. So the thing is, right, is that one of the things that they have done is that they have made us so stupid spiritually that they poison our pineal gland and calcify it with fluoride because the pineal gland or the third eye is the most heavily targeted and poisoned gland in the human body, mainly due to its spiritual influence it has on the human awareness. A closed
Okay.
pineal gland means the mind can easily be deceived as it struggles to look beyond what is present in front of it. An open pineal gland acts like a truth detector by being able to pick up on the subtle inconsistencies of lies or subliminal messages that may be used as a veil to conceal true intentions, right?
Okay.
They are afraid that if we awaken, we won't fear death because death is really a disguise because we are consciousness, we are infinite, and we are immortal, right? Death is the birth. Death is actually birth in disguise. The afterlife of Billy Fingers, a true story by Angie Fragan, and that's what she said. That death is birth in disguise, right? Now, why would they hide this from us? Now, the reason why they hide all of these truths is that um, we they don't want us to have a choice. And basically,
Okay.
what they did is that they gave us the you see there's something called the tree of life, and then so remember the Garden of Eden story.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
Kodeshima said that there are two trees in the garden that you should never eat from. One is the tree of life and death, and the next one is of good and evil. Now, the tree of good and evil is what creates the duality in the world, right? And this is
Mm-hmm.
found in our DNA. But then you have the tree of life, which is a symbol of oneness, right? So they want us to take from the tree of, they don't want us to take from the tree of life
Okay.
and death, because what it was that we would realize that life and death are the same thing, and that when we actually leave this body, that's when life really starts, because we're only here for a small part of our total existence, you know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the tree of good and evil creates the duality system. And what that does now is that, again, remember I was talking about the factions, it causes us to keep fighting against one another. So they keep us enslaved to keep us doing the work for them. Because the more we fight against each other, the less
Uh-huh.
work they have to do to keep us controlled. Because we control each other through snitching on each other, through trying to kill each other, or by going to war with
Yes.
each other.
Yep.
Right?
It's
So
like
I'm
their
gonna
nightmare
make
would be if we unified.
absolutely. And this is like akin to the story you have about in the Bible for the Tower of Babel. And the Tower of
Yeah.
Babel incident comes out of the Sumerian tablets. Now, what it looks like is that it could be a launch pad for a spaceship, or they just wanted to get tall enough into the sky so they could attack God. Because the God in the Bible and in the Old Testament is not the creator of all things. In fact, the God of the Old Testament, there's several actually, but one of the main gods is Enlil, and he was known as Yahweh or Jehovah, right? And this is why you find that he is a god that talks about smiting others. He would tell his followers to go and smite this group of people, and that's not really the attributes of a good god. You know what I'm saying? But I digress again. So what it is now is that they're because these gods are always going at it, right? They get us to fight the wars for them because
Yes.
we are just pawns because they created us, so they're just like they're disposable, right? No, when you had the story in the Tower of Babel, when you go back to the original tablets, it says that it looks like they were trying to get to kill God. And why was that? Because they started to realize that this God that is that telling them that he's God is causing them to live in such harsh conditions that they're like, no, man, enough is enough. And then they started to realize that he was a false God, right? So because they realized that he was a false God, they wanted to go to war with God. So after humans built the Tower of Babel, God, quotation marks, Enlil, he said that, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I'm paraphrasing it. He was like, there's nothing that they seem to not be able to do. And soon from now, they won't even need us, and they would surpass us. So he said, let us, plural, let us confuse man so that he doesn't speak one language. Because this conversation that we're having now is a good conversation. But someone in Russia who doesn't speak English wouldn't be able to benefit from it because they don't speak English, right? So by creating all of these different languages, what you do is you cause separation, you cause confusion, and it means that you can't share information, right? So when man was unified with one voice and he spoke one language, it means then that man was more unified. But by separating the languages into several, it means that by default, man is separated. Because man is humanity. It is all of us. Because we all are God. I am God. You are God. Teddy Bear Dynamite is God as well. I mean? We're all gods. We're all God because what it is that we are fractals of God having an individualized experience, right? But we're made of the same essence that God is made of. We're made of the same things of the universe, the stars, the stardust, the same elements that create that cause stars to come into existence. We have inside of our body. So what it is that we're just fractals of God. And even Christ said to the Jews, he says, isn't it in your scripture that it said ye are gods? That's what he said, right? And the thing is, Psalm 82, from memory, it says, as God was standing around the round table of gods, God said, how long shall ye persecute the weak and oppress the poor? And other translations would say, as God sat around the table of the mighty. But basically, these are the Elohim, which is the gods, which also means the powerful ones or the judges. Yeah. So, we have a system that's been set up by them to rule us, to make us slaves. So this is why you have to try to break out of the system by getting yourself into shape. Because when you get yourself into shape, this allows you to actually not only change your life, but to create a different mindset. Because you can't get into shape with a poor mindset. It just won't happen. It just won't happen. Because you have to create new habits. You have to create new routines. You may have to maybe see some friends a little bit less in order to get into shape. There is a payoff, right? You have to pay a price in some form or fashion, right? The problem that we have is that today our society thinks that there's no payoffs, right? So getting in shape will do wonders for your mind. And when the mind and the body get together and they have a baby, they get married, the spirit is what is birthed out of that union. Now that is all figuratively, but I express it like that so people can understand that how important the spirit is and how important the mind and the body are, because those are the two that allow the body to be vibrating at a high enough resonance frequency to be able to receive more levels of light, more consciousness, and then you'll be able to understand some things more because you're actively working. But the problem that we have is that we're not taught any of these things in schools. So we come out being completely ignorant of what really is, you know? So that's why I say the whole system is rigged. And these elites, because there's a very good book called The Conspirators' oh my gosh. The Conspirators' Hierarchy. Yeah, The Conspirators' Hierarchy. The Committee of 300, right? And in that book,
That's one book or two different ones?
It's one book, but it's like this. You have the main title and then you have like the subtitle. The main title is The Conspirators' Handbook, and then you have under that title The Committee of 300. And that is a very good book because it very well details the power structure that we live in. And the Club of 300, the Committee of 300 is the committee that runs the planet completely. 300 families. Those are names that you will never, ever hear in the media because they own the media. They own the government, right? It is theirs. It's just like in England, it is called Her Majesty's Court, Her Majesty's Prison. The prince or the king, the queen or the king can never, ever, ever be charged with a crime. Ever. It is hers. She owns it. Lock, stock, and barrel. Jeez. Her Majesty's police force, Her Majesty's prison, Her Majesty's crown council, right? She owns it. How can she be prosecuted by something that she owns? Well, it's not she anymore, it's a he, because it's Prince Charles. But they own it, right? The royal family own about 20% of all land on earth. It's freaking mad. Right? And the thing is, right, is that, so remember I mentioned before that the Anu married his half sister?
Yes.
So,
you're bringing it full circle.
Yes. The practice of these aristocrats, monarchies marrying their cousins has come out of the marriage from the half sister in the Anunnaki. Because what they want to do is they want to keep the bloodline tight. They don't want any outsiders in the bloodline. So this is why you had in the Middle Ages a lot of basically retarded monarchs in Europe because they were marrying their cousins too much to the point that they were getting a lot of deformities. This is why a lot of them were hidden away from public. And they also had elongated skulls, some of them. And elongated skulls is a trait that you would say would be a Nephilim trait or an Anunnaki trait, right? Because they had elongated skulls. Some of them had like red hair as well. A fun fact for you, they found skeletons in Peru with elongated skulls, 7-foot beings, right? So, oh yeah.
Oh.
I was trying to get it up for you. Oh, that's I was trying to pull the video up to show everyone.
Right. Yeah, man. So they are actually smarter than us because they have elongated skulls. They have bigger craniums. They have bigger actual cranium for brain capacity and brain material. So this is why humans try to replicate that by binding their babies' skulls. But that just shifts the head from one part to the other, but it doesn't give additional brain matter. You understand? And those beings would be the equivalent of the Anunnaki or the Nephilim. Because, like I said, we just look like them. They look like us. Because what did the Bible say? Let us make man in our own image. So if he makes us in our own image, we have to look like him. Yeah. And think about it. If the sons of God could have sex with the daughters of man, it means that they had to have male genitalia that could fit inside a human female genitalia. You know what I mean? These are kind of questions that people don't ask, right? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Right? And even if the Nephilim or giants were produced, they would still be able to have sex with a female human because they still have a penis, right? So, you know, it's people just don't ask the right questions in order to understand these higher things. But again, we're not taught how to ask questions, right? We this is why we struggle from the lack of knowledge. This is why Christ says, "For my people suffer from the lack of knowledge," right? And this is why they keep us dumbed down, they keep us indoctrinated, they keep us full of religion. You know what I mean? They have pandemics. You know, inject yourself with, you know, some unknown substance that is lethal, by the way. And right now, we're starting to see an extremely high number of deaths, sudden deaths from cancers, myocarditis, a lot of other like weird freaking diseases and ailments that only started to come about from 3 years ago, right? But the thing is that, dude, if you were to say any of that kind of stuff on a platform like YouTube, you'll be censored very, very quickly, right? You would be given a strike and your video will be removed because you're not allowed to test the narrative. The reason why truth is true is because it has stood the test of time and has been scrutinized day in, day out, and there are no flaws. So it's perfect. Truth is perfect. It is what it is. But it's difficult for people to grasp these concepts because, you know what I mean, you have to be doing work on yourself to be able to get them all.
Lots of work, yes.
And this is why I always tell people, start with getting in shape. This will improve your mindset. You'll be able to understand things spiritually because if you're open to reading books, learning anew, because Christ says you can't put new wine into old wine skins. And that's a parable for if you want to learn something new, you have to forget what you think you know. Because you can't go into something to learn something thinking that you already know that thing. You know, that will just inhibit you from actually learning the said thing, you know? So yeah, it's one of those things that like these are things that need to be said. And I am very happy to say these things and to try to touch, move, and inspire people to pick up their own cross and follow me. And that's also a parable for what Christ said. You know, when Christ was going on to Galilee in order to be, you know, crucified, he said, "Hey, pick up your cross and follow me." But it's also literal and also figurative. Because the crucifixion of Christ was a representation that you have to die to yourself. You have to die to this world. The person that you are today, you have to die to that person. Where that man or woman is completely unrecognizable, right? This is what happened to me. The guy I am now is completely a different guy from how I was 7 years ago. This is why, like, that guy, he's dead. I will never want to see him again because that guy didn't understand the things that this guy understands, right?
Yeah, man.
So, you know, it's a very, very, there's a lot of nuance in all of it where there's the little things that make a big difference. And, you know, I'm very happy to you know, put my head above the pulpit and to open the door and say, "Hey, you may want to look over there," or "Hey, the door is open, you may want to walk through." You know, I try to promote thought and for people to want to read for themselves and do their own research so that becomes true to them. Because obviously my truth isn't your truth. And I'll prove that here with this simple experiment. So on this side, you can see red. This is true for you. On my side, which is this, is black. So this black is true for me. This red is true for you. Who's telling the truth? Both of us.
Yeah, it's all perspective.
Good. So truth is multi-layered and multidimensional. And it depends on what side you're seeing the truth from. So in fact, if I spin it around, you see this, and you're like, "Oh yeah, what you're seeing is black." And when I spin this around, I'm seeing red. I'm like, okay, I see. So this is why we can't get thinking that there's only one truth, because there isn't. However, you can put the truths together to get the bigger picture. And the bigger picture was like, oh, this is a mobile phone. You know what I'm saying? And the one side is black and one. So you see, the mobile phone is the complete truth, and we both were telling the truth, just from different sides, and we both were telling the truth. That's the trick.
It's almost the same way as like seeing when you were talking about at the beginning with the bird or the politics. Like some people think that he's for the people, some people think that he's not for the people. But then they put it all together, and you're like, oh, it's two wings to the same bird. You know, it's like they're trying to get people, like, it's always pushing one thing, and both sides think that the opposite side is evil, and you're like, but when you start to realize you're a part of the middle part, you're like, we're not evil, and you're not evil, and I'm not evil. So what's actually evil? You're like, those guys running everything.
That is a very, very good analogy. Very good analogy. And that is absolutely spot on, because the Anunnaki created a duality system here on Earth. And what that does is that by default, it separates man. And because man is divided at the most important level, because basically what happened is that when according to the Gnostics, when man was first created, man was just that, man, because he was both male and female at the same time. He was androgynous. No. No. If you think about it, in the Genesis story, that is actually confirmed. Because think about it. When it said, let us make man in our own image, what was created? Man. And what did they have to do to get a female? They had to separate.
Rib from them.
Correct. Now, the rib is a parable for the separation of the feminine energy from the masculine energy, or the feminine essence from the male essence. So, yes, we have both male and female now, like we have masculine and feminine. But the Gnostics say that when we were created, we were both together as one. And then there's a book called the Book of Jasher, which is also known as the Book of Righteousness, that's actually mentioned in the Bible, but not in the Bible. You understand? It is mentioned, but it's not in. And there's another book that was taken out called the Wars of the Lord. That's a very interesting book, because the Wars of the Lord, or the Wars of Yahweh, or the Wars of Jehovah, it basically tells us that they created the word God in order to trick us from worshiping the Great Spirit. Because even, like, if you look at a lot of these indigenous tribes, they never use the word God. They will use the creator of all things. They will use the creator. They will use, the Great Spirit. Like the Native Americans, they use terms like the Great Spirit or the Infinite Spirit. They use terms like that, right? So, for example, like the Lord's Prayer is a bit of a trick, because it's not exactly how it was in Hebrew. So I'm going to read to you one of the better translations of the actual Hebrew Lord's Prayer. And it goes, O Bertha of the cosmos, focus your light within us. Make it useful. Create your reign of unity now. Your one desire then acts with ours, as in all light, so in all forms. Grant us what we need each day in bread and insight. Loose the cords of mistakes binding us, as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Don't let surface things delude us, but free us from what holds us back. From you is born all ruling will, the power and the life to do, the song that beautifies all, from age to age it renews. I affirm this with my whole being. So you see, sounds a lot different from what we have as a Lord Spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it does.
And did you pick up in the beginning where it says, O birther of the cosmos, focus your light within us. Make it useful. Create your reign of unity now. So he didn't say, Oh Father or Oh God. He said, Oh birth of the cosmos. So I'm going to show you another thing that's quite interesting. So because you have to go back to these ancient texts and you also have to look at the etymology of words, what you're able to see is that there's a lot of trickery going on with a lot of word gymnastics. So as we know, Christ spoke Aramaic. The word for father in Aramaic is Abba. Now, this was verified by things, other times used in the Bible in that context, that Abba is father. The word that Christ or Yeshua used from the original translations was Sabun, Sabwoon. Now, that actually means source or birther. So in reality, he never referred to God as his father to begin with, his crucifixion. When he was on the cross, he was saying, Father, forgive them, forgive them. He wasn't saying Father, Father. He was saying, oh, birth of the cosmos, you know what I mean? Forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? So
Yeah.
the elites who created the church wanted to confuse people and changed Yeshua's name to Jesus, and all references of Abun, source, became Abba, Father. This small translation changes everything. I find it useful to help people when you talk about these topics, to give some nuance to words, because words have meanings and they matter. And then there's some just blatant trickery going on with the substitutioners from Abun to Abba, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is like I said, where all of the marrying of the cousins comes from. Is practiced in the Sumerian times. So what we're doing is just we're mimicking them. And what I would say is that it is our responsibility to work on ourselves. We have to work on ourselves, mentally, spiritually, and economically. Once we do those things, then I think that we stand a much better chance to survive what's to come. Because what's going to come is going to cause man's hearts to fail. We are going to see wormholes and portals and celestial bodies just appearing in our atmosphere, just like that. Now, this is why I think it's going to be either a fake alien invasion, a real alien invasion, or both. But I do think that some alien invasion of sort type will happen. And in fact, this I have no proof of, but what the tea leaves are showing me is that if Trump gets in, which I do think he's going to win because he's very popular. And that's just me being as a political atheist and saying it is what it is. He's very popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think that some alien activity will be involved from there, and it would cause people to think like, hey, you know what, this guy, we need another type of guy because he's going to stand up for us against the aliens. But this is the question I ask people: how have they ever stood up for us. You know what I mean? They've never been there, right?
Yeah.
No one's coming to save us. No. We have to do it ourselves. And all we're doing is we're handing over our power to them all the time through these spastic religions which are just full of debauchery, and we are giving our energy to an extraterrestrial god because Abba in this case was Enlil, right? He's the father of the Jews. You know what I mean? You can't really say that too regularly because they come for you, but that group of people who shall remain nameless, they worship extraterrestrial gods, And I got a fun fact for you. So there are two places where you find this, and we'll give people the receipts today for this. So I'm reading a very, very interesting book called The Ringmakers of Saturn. And yes, The Ringmakers of Saturn. And I've not finished it yet, but this guy is presenting a lot of evidence to show that the rings of Saturn are actually artificially created, and they're being created through vehicles, extraterrestrial spaceships. Now, while I can't say yay or a nay, what I would say is that it's quite interesting the evidence he's bringing. He's bringing pictures and showing you things. And I'm like, well, one can never tell today because he might absolutely be spot on right. We say that he's talking BS. And then 10 years down the line, we realize, oh my gosh, Todd, how did you meet this guy, etc., etc. This guy's brilliant, you know what I mean? But it's only because that person is way ahead of their time, right?
Okay.
And basically that is what is going to happen, right? We're going to see all kinds of amazing stuff, but the time to prepare is now. It is now. You know what I mean?
Sure. And on that note, do you guys want to jump into the next segment?
Yeah, man.
Videos? I just got a couple videos. I got one on Anunnaki, and then I got a couple on the food industry, and then a couple on health.
Because many of them made you believe they were gods and allowed you to worship them, that the entire basis of religion was created on your planet. You wouldn't have it if it wasn't for their existence in your lives back then, about 500 to 300,000 years ago. When open contact actually does occur, one of the gifts you will be given is what you might think of as your true history on Earth. All of it. All the missing pieces. Everything. And then you will get to decide which parts you relate to and how you can allow yourself to be the people that you prefer to be, that would be representative of the kind of people that would have been created by the true history. That is in alignment with who you truly are. That's what we mean by true history. Not that there is only one history that is true, but that it is the history that is true for who you prefer to be.
All right. And then do you want to do the food or the health next?
We could do the food.
Food? Okay.
Founding Kellogg's cereals. He invented Kellogg's cereals while he was the director of the Battle Creek Sanitarium in Michigan in order to give food that would suppress sexual urges and desires. That was his mission. He also would see parents who would bring in their children who were masturbating and wanted to stop them. He put them on a vegan diet, put them on a plant-based diet, give them a bunch of these cornflakes in order to suppress their sexual urges. And he would also circumcise them without anesthetic, boys and girls. He would actually cut the clitoris off of girls, or use acid or other caustic substances to scar and score the clitoris and labia to make it painful to them and punish them, and to make it painful for them to do it again. He actually pushed this on the rest of the country. He thought this was a very healthful thing. He convinced the medical establishment in America to push for male circumcision. He tried it for female circumcision, saying this was better for their health. He didn't tell them what his actual motives were, which was to suppress masturbation. That's what it was. He convinced the medical establishment that it was actually in the best interest of the child to circumcise young boys. And this is why most Americans are circumcised. It's sort of starting to change because people have become aware of this more recently. He tried to do it for women too. He thankfully didn't get through with that one. But this is where these people's minds were at. Dr. Kellogg founding Kellogg cereals.
Okay, so I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking
wow,
it's going to be more food based.
Well, remember what I said? It basically confirms everything I said, right?
yes,
Because
yes, it does.
so, and I'm gonna give people something else as well. So, like, okay, the vegans are gonna come for me for this one, but
Bring it on.
this is the thing. All diets are good, but they all have pros and cons. And one of the biggest cons with a vegan diet is that it is very heavily based on soy and soy products. And the soya beans that we have on the market right now, 2 countries dominate 60% of the market. That's United States and Brazil. 60%. And in that percentage that the United States controls, 96 to 98% of all soya beans are GMO soya beans. I repeat that, 96 to 98% of all soya beans in the United States market are GMO soya beans. GMO is not natural food. It is artificial food. They've tinkered with it to make it basically not good for you in the long run because it's not real, it's not natural. So my point is that for people that are vegans, I'm not saying that a vegan diet is bad, but what I'm saying is you have a big elephant in the room that you need to address, which is that the vast majority of the products that come from the soya bean are GMO products, right? And GMO does very bad things to the body, right? It's not real food. So, and then also because plant protein, the molecular structure of it with the protein is slightly different from that of animal protein. It means that the absorption rate for a plant-based protein is, because it's a vegetable protein, you have to consume about 50% more in order to get the equivalent of you would get with fish or meat protein. But that means you have to eat 50% more GMO in order to get to get the result that you want. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that that vegan diets are bad, but what I do know is that in today's society, it is like eating bread, right? White bread is bleached, right? So you've taken all the nutrition value of the bread and given us garbage. This is why people that eat loads of high amounts of bread tend to be very hungry a lot because it doesn't last long, and it taxes the hypothalamus, it taxes the body. So most people that eat loads of bread are overweight, right? Bloated because of the nutritional thing. It's just like white rice and brown rice. Brown rice is natural rice, but white rice comes about from the bleaching process.
Okay.
So you again remove the nutritional value in the rice. So
I'm going to get a lot of people to hate me on this one. Check this video out. Side of a hot dog.
Yep. Again, processed food.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
And then I just got 2 more videos. This one is for your health. Let's see if I can get this one going. Sorry if I cut you off, by the way.
No.
Food industry.
Back in the lab, they mimic Mother Nature's molecules with chemicals. Essentially, what you do is you take whatever this smells like and copy it.
Right, exactly.
The holy grail, a flavor so good you can't resist it.
In our fruit flavors, we're talking about we want, a burst in the beginning and maybe a finish that doesn't linger too much so that you want more of it.
You don't want a long linger because you're not going to eat more of it if it lingers.
So it's got to be a quick fix, and then
Have more.
have more. But that suggests something else,
Exactly.
which is called addiction.
Exactly.
You're trying to create an addictive taste.
It's a good word.
Or something that they want to go back for again and again.
Food companies know that flavor is what makes repeat customers. So they commission Givaudan to create what they hope will be a mouth-watering taste. Givaudan may be the biggest multinational you've never heard of. All flavors are combinations of chemicals. Artificial flavors are largely man-made. Natural flavors come from nature, but not necessarily from what the label implies. For example,
strawberry creations.
Strawberry and vanilla flavor can come from the gland in a beaver's backside.
Much of what we're eating with these flavors, you have to ask yourself, is it really food?
So you're saying that a strawberry flavor can come from the butt, from the gland of a beaver?
Yeah, and vanilla too.
Jeez.
So stick with chocolate.
Yeah, 100 grams. Nah.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That just confirms my point.
And then they sell it as natural, and you're like, "There's no way this is natural."
And remember always said that throw away processed food, just don't use it anymore. In the bin.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that confirms it, right? It's very bad for the body, man. Very bad.
And then I just got this one last video. Let's see if I can get this up. Okay. It says American Heart Association was paid off by Procter & Gamble to say heart disease was caused by saturated fat, not seed oils. We've been told for decades that heart disease is caused by saturated fat found in butter, meat, and eggs. But recent research reveals that the studies promoting these messages were heavily compromised. So that's exactly what you're talking about earlier,
Yep.
I was going to, isn't it the same thing with milk? They did that whole promotion about vitamin D and it being good for your bones, but it's almost the opposite.
Well, in terms of milk is a bit of a nuance because milk is people will say milk is bad, but the pasteurized milk is what is bad. Mm-hmm. If you get natural whole milk,
like raw
unpasteurized, correct, raw milk straight from the animal, goat, sheep, or cow, and you scald it. Basically, what that means is that you just heat it until it starts to rise. And once you do that, you turn it off. And that will last about maybe 5 days, 6 days.
Okay.
And that does nothing bad to the milk. The pasteurization heats the milk to very high temperatures, right, for a very short time, and then cools it, right? It's a completely different process and animal to scalding your milk, right?
It probably kills the nutrients, right?
It does. So all of the issues that we have from the lactose and everything like that come because it's pasteurized milk. Because they pasteurize even the orange juice that makes Tropicana, right? So when they finish pasteurize it, the juice is actually white, and they have to reintroduce the coloring and the flavoring in it, which is the artificial process, right? So
and added sugar. You're like, oh,
absolutely. So this is why I say to people that you have to change. We have to change our nutrition as a people because our nutrition is trash. It's absolute trash, my friend.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to try to tell that to people because they're so trapped in the matrix that it's hard to get them out.
Yeah, 100%.
And no
But hey,
matter how
man,
much proof and evidence you would never believe.
yep. Are you ready to play conspiracy trivia?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So I got 5 different. I got 5 questions, and usually, there's 5 different topics. There's random, mythos or myths, aliens, tech. There's one more, but I'm missing it. But anyway, the first question, it's the topic is random. Okay, and you're playing against TBD, or you're playing with them too, so it's not like we'll figure it out. And then just it's a multiple choice, and then I'll let you guess, and then I'll give you guys the answer. What did Andrew Carlson claim was the reason for his luck in the stock market? A, he joined the U.S. Congress. B, he is a time traveler. C, a Ouija board. Or D, subreddit investment groups.
Join Congress.
All right. And what do you say,
I'm going
TV?
with time traveler.
Yeah, it was time traveler. All right. So
It seemed too outlandish, so I figured it had to be the answer.
yeah, and
Well, I
sometimes
thought
that's
I went with Congress because look at Nancy Pelosi.
yeah, no, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
All right. The second one is mythos. What recording artist was cursed after coming into close contact with a dieback box? A, Post Malone. B, Kesha. C, Michael Jackson. Or D, Whitney Houston.
Ooh. I would say Kesha.
And I don't even know what a die box is. Or dieback.
I was going to ask that. Like, I've never heard of a diving box.
I'll have to Google it. All right, who you got, TBD?
Whitney Houston?
It was Post Malone. All right, and some of these I have no idea. I've never even read these yet, so we're just winging it. All right,
We're
the next
definitely going to have to look up that diving box.
yeah, definitely. Mary Toft convinced King George I that she had given birth to what? A, trees. B, rabbits. C, fairies. Or D, gremlins.
Fairies.
All right, what about
I'm
you,
going to double
TBD?
down on the fairies.
All right, it was rabbits. Some of these are
Who would
so
believe
stupid.
that?
I don't know. All right, this one is random. Tom Cruise divorced each of his 3 wives after they did what? A, turned age 33. B, took a picture standing taller than him. C, wore a red dress at award shows. Or D, questioned Scientology.
Question Scientology.
I'm going with B, but they stood taller than him in pictures.
No, I would have guessed Scientology too. Turned age 33.
Really?
Yeah. And then the last and final one, it's a random. What did actor David Spade say he would do if Tom Hanks didn't pull through from COVID-19? Stupid. A, binge watch all of his movies. B, be on his roof with a gun. C, star in the remake of Big. Or D, bathe in hand sanitizer.
What was the first one again?
Binge watch all of his movies.
Yeah, I would say that one.
Okay, what about you, TBD?
What was B?
Be on his roof with a gun.
Yeah, I'm going to go with B.
Yeah, that's what it was. These ones are stupid. I'm sorry. I didn't like these
You
ones.
got to reshuffle.
Yeah, really. And like if you go to the little QR code on the bottom,
Yeah.
working. They will let you. They'll tell you where their resource or their sources were from, and they're probably all fake. But I'm not too worried about that. And then I got your stuff up ready to go. If you want to plug and tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say, thanks for having me on your show tonight. It was a little bit different. It was fun and interesting. And as in the conversation, I had mentioned that I am an online fitness trainer. So I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. And if anyone is interested in getting into shape and becoming their best version themselves, you can follow me on Instagram at Adriano_246, and I'll teach you how to do some of the cool, amazing things that I do, and also teach you about food and some of the nuances that I shared tonight, and you'll have some of my hacks. And as you can see, I do calisthenics as well, and so those kind of things you get to learn as well, And
now, are these all in Barbados?
No, these are in Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one there in the red, that's another pretty good one as well.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's called the Tiger Bend push up with Superman.
Man, you make it look easy.
Trust me, it is not easy.
Jeez.
But yeah,
Yeah,
man.
And
then also,
link tree.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter as well, X. I recently opened Twitter for the first time. I was really not looking forward to doing it, but Twitter is pretty cool, and I basically opened Twitter because I just started my own podcast called The Conscious Man 7, and you can find me on most major platforms, Spreaker, Spotify, and that's my Instagram page for that. So you can find me on Spreaker, you can find me on Spotify, you can find me on Rumble, you can find me on Odyssey, So they only got 3 videos on there now because we're working on putting up. Because we only literally started it on Friday.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's quite all new for me. So I was told that if you can do podcast, Todd, you have to join Twitter. I was like, all right, cool.
Definitely, man. So yeah, we'll definitely post all this stuff in the bio and everything too. Tag it and everything. Do you have Discord at all?
Not yet.
Okay, so we usually run ours off of Discord here and there, and like we just have people like random people that join, and like you could talk with other people in there about like these topics or random topics and stuff too. So it's always fun. We plan on probably doing some like live, just live chats or like live video chats and stuff, and not even post them, but just have it as like an option for people to come through and like just hang out and stuff with us too. So you're more than welcome to join. I'll throw you that link and stuff if you're ever into joining Discord and stuff too. Okay.
Yeah, nice one, man. And also, because we talk a lot about spirituality and stuff, I also help people in their spiritual journey because I work with a company that does magic mushrooms. And so anyone that's interested in magic mushrooms can just hit me up on any of my socials. I'm mostly active on Instagram because that's where day-to-day happens for me because that's where the fitness stuff goes. But you can hit me up on Instagram at Adriano_246. Or if you want to get me on FBI book, you can hit me up on my name Todd Cave, because let's be honest, it is basically FBI book, right?
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
Right.
And then do you have a link for the mushroom stuff?
No, just DM me and then I try to put in DMs and stuff,
All right, cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
I figured just in case I'd pull that up for you too. Shout them out.
If you want to see something really cool, look at that last exercise in the top right hand corner.
This one?
Yeah. you talk right now, going, yeah, that's a pretty cool video.
Jeez. And you got like a really thin rubber band, so it's barely helping.
Yep.
Holy crap. Wow. TVD, you could be doing this, man.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm trying to do this.
I have something else on here. Where was it? Oh, right here. So, like,
Yes.
this is your website or whatever, so that way you can ask you
Yeah,
questions
so-
and tell you your goals and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so anyone that's interested in working with me, they can fill out an application form, and if you're a good fit, then we'll organize to have a quick chat and find out a little bit more about you, what's going on in your life, find out if it's the right time and everything like that. Because I'm very much I only take on clients that are actually really committed to the journey. Because a lot of people, they say, yeah, Todd, I want to do this, and then when they join, then you have to be chasing them, you have to be, like trying to like force them, and I don't really want that. That's hassle and stress, right? I like to work with people that are really want it. People that are saying, yes, I'm ready. Just tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to do it. Those type of the people that get the best results,
Definitely, man. No, that's super cool. And TBD, you want to throw in the thought for the day?
Oh, yes, sir.
You got one? Anything specific?
Well, I got one about God, and I kind of find it funny since we did a lot of talk about spirituality. So,
Okay.
God doesn't give us what we can handle; He helps us handle what we are given.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, hey, Todd, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. Like, it's been a pleasure, man. Like, I've been really looking forward to having you on the episode and stuff. And like, I definitely, you're on our Mount CrushMore for sure. We'd love
Thanks,
to have you
man.
back sometime.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah, and
for
I'll
having
definitely
me on
have to
your
hit you
platform.
up.
Pardon?
Oh, I was saying I'll definitely have to hit you up too, because I like where some of the things you were saying, like overlaid with the Bible and some of the parables,
Mm-hmm.
and I find things like that very interesting.
Oh yeah, man. Like basically, man. How should I put it? The long story short is that the religion is a narrative, because the word
Hmm.
religion comes from the Latin word relegare, which means to hold or to bind or to thwart forward progress of. And
Okay.
in order to understand the Bible, you need to read other books and sources, because, like I said, the Sumerian tablets are the original sets of information, and the Bible is a mixture of many different books. So what has happened is that when they created the Bible, it it's to push a narrative, right? To push
Hmm.
a doctrine, and a doctrine causes indoctrination. So this is why it's very difficult to understand really what's being said. But with a little bit of guidance from myself and pointing people in the right direction of which books to go and read and stuff, they'll be able to see for themselves the similarities, right? And then when the more you read, the more dots you connect, and you start to realize, hold on, everything is linked. Even fitness
Hmm.
is linked to spirituality, because you have to get the right mind. To get the right mind, then what happens when the mind and the body get married, and you start to become a lot more spiritual, because you're realizing, well, hey, I am greater than I think I am, and the power of the universe is inside of me. So all of these are
Hmm.
things that I link together to show people that it's not just one thing, it is everything, right? Because you're a multidimensional being, and there are many sides to you. There's a mental side, there's a spiritual side, and there's a physical side, you know? And I try to
Yes.
coach all three.
Definitely. Oh, that's super cool, man. Yeah, and like I said again, it's been a pleasure having you on and stuff, and definitely opened our minds and got us thinking, like or
Oh
me
yeah.
at least. So, and then I just wanted to get a quick plug to Paranoid American, hooking it up. Got some comics and stuff. The Chosen One comic, and then the Time Traveler, One of One. So he's the one that put me on to you. He's the one that told me to reach out to you and stuff and get you on the podcast. So like I'm really grateful for him telling us about you and then you coming on and actually like spending time with us and letting us interview you and hang out pretty much. So
Yeah, man, my pleasure, man. I had fun as well, man.
definitely. So you got any last words or anything?
Just anyone that's interested in getting into shape, anyone that's learning that wants to try something new because they failed many times in the past, hit me up at Adriana_246. If you want to learn how to eat, how to train, you want to create new habits, you want to learn how to hack your mind, you want to learn how to become your best self, attract that girl, attract that guy, all of that, it will help you to do because we do holistic coaching here. We don't just look at one aspect. And then also any people that are in a spiritual journey and want to be able to help crack the matrix more and they're interested in magic mushrooms, just hit me up again at Adriano_246. Send me a DM. Say, hey, Todd, interested in magic mushrooms? And let's have a conversation and let's see if we can help.
Nice. TBD, you?
I'm actually have nothing this time. This is very rare for me, but I have nothing.
Really?
I have nothing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Todd, so much for coming on. We really appreciate you. For everybody else listening at home or watching, this is the SpeakInCOAD Podcast. I am Conspiracy of a Dead Man. Stay safe, stay blessed, and keep on questioning. We're out.
In the shadows they lie, the hidden keepers in sky, whispers of secrets untold, ancient wisdom strong and bold. From distant stars they came, marked our lands with their name, built our world, taught us how, left their mark, see it now. Running the show aside, masters with plans so tight, ancient hands pulling strings, Anunnaki rule unseen. Cities high they did raise, structures that still amaze, knowledge deep in our bones, histories carved in stone. Running the soul aside, masters with plans so tight, ancient hands pulling strings, Anunnaki rule unseen. They linger in the night, shape our world out of sight. From our seats they live, in shadows they remain. Running